Evo, evo moj prijatelj. Evo moj prijatelja. Evo. Nije se prijatelj nadao da je.
You just want like oh,
Whichever one you think is
oh,
So, like to go back to shuttle bus. Okay. We have time, so that's we got one special that's right.
Next one. Svidio to, da vršimo opraštivanje komarac.
Si chiama Bangkok Herman.
C'est vrai qu'il faut passeport, il y a que car. Sve jedno.
Šta znači zvrda?
Zvrda, evo ti pita Jelu što znači.
Gledajte, Google. Google znači Google.
Marin terus.
Wczoraj do południa to nie szło nawet.
Kato, Christmas ornaments.
Hier het zo. Het kost hier niet, dat was serieus klaar.
and cheese and normal vegetarian, or you want to like prefer more? Pancakes and
Like fresh.
Sounds like a feliz.
Prima è solo per
I'm jealous of people that have faith.
you're right.
Chissà se lo si
Very tempting.
Go! Yes, Papa. Devo sapere che io da
Maxi lavanda hoy.
Sí.
Ili svakome ljubav. Šta je to?
I mean, we're allowed to drink now.
We're not about this, you guys. We're not about this. Wine for breakfast.
Mittag oder weil wir es am Vormittag so für den Abend reservieren und klatschen so.
Dann war der
And I don't want to say back then they didn't care about kids, but much less than today. I mean, much less. I see the 5 kids like this is like That's right.
It doesn't say you can't. It just says there's a restricted area, but what does it mean?
Yes.
They're connecting the monastery to this bit.
Von rechts hat
Więc będzie jeszcze. Jaki to jest Aha, ty masz prawo.
She went in there.
Look at your own food. Oh, halfway there. Hopefully you've caught it.
Just number 3.
If I am spending my time with her, why do I need to?
You like, here's my Instagram.
To jest miejsce na selfieka.
If you see how many people are walking down there, and I'm
I'm really, really.
Where's the
Andre, dale una chicha cappuccino.
Karını almış o ya. Özür dilerim.
We are have to cancel for now. I'm just got other sources that have to attend to the county that are on the longer account.
After this, let's have lunch.
Let's